Today we are going to look at how I created this painting. It's titled Today's Breath. We will talk about composition, colour theory, and how we can use layering as part of the process when we are creating abstract art. I'll also talk about some of the ideas behind the work. It's a chance for me to share my artistic process and an opportunity for you to apply the things you find useful to your own artistic practice. Let's begin. I love a blank canvas. It contains so much potential. For my first layer, I just want to add some colour. I've chosen pink and I don't plan to use it to cover the entire canvas. I'm using a layered approach to abstraction. This is one layer. It is a beginning. The obvious colour to add next would be green, because it's the complementary colour to red and therefore pink. A green would automatically balance the canvas. As an artist, you want to create balance when it comes to the final image. But the process is long, so when you're aiming for a balanced composition, you can delay that resolution. I can add imbalance and then resolve that imbalance at a later point. So I'm not going to add a colour that immediately balances that pink. I've chosen to add blue to the canvas. The colours don't fight with each other, but they don't balance as well as pink and green would. It's creating a tension, and as an artist you can feel that it's pulling the painting in a particular direction. The pink is asking for green and the blue is asking for orange. This process includes a level of delayed gratification, where you know that if you hold on to that tension and wait, then you will end up with a more complex image. It's about knowing when to strive for balance and when to accept that you're passing through a period of necessary tension in order to create something more interesting. You find yourself constantly asking the question, is this the time for balance? There isn't a right or wrong answer. You want the final piece to be balanced, but if you balance the composition too soon, it will have lower levels of complexity and interest. I'm going to add balance to the composition. Let's give the pink what it's asking for and add some green to the canvas. Let's give the blue what it's asking for and add some orange to the canvas. The position of these colours has meant that the colour balancing the pink is directly on top of the pink. The colour balancing the blue is mainly on top of the blue. Choosing these positions has created a disconnect between the pink and the blue. They need something to unite them. If that blue and pink was mixed into a single colour on the canvas, then they would become purple. If we are to unite them, then let's see them as the colour purple. The complementary colour to purple is yellow, and that means that yellow can unite those two parts of the canvas by balancing the connection between pink and blue. You'll notice that I'm rotating the canvas as I work on the painting. This is something that's helpful for practical reasons. Sometimes you want to be in the most comfortable position while painting, and you want to be able to easily reach the areas you're working on. This can be true for any kind of artistic process. You don't want to make it more physically demanding than it needs to be. However, that isn't the only reason. If you're painting a landscape, then at the beginning of creating your artwork, you have to decide what is the top of the canvas. It's something that comes early in the process. But if you're painting an abstract painting, then that can come later in the process. This is a square canvas, and that means that when I balance the composition in one position, then it will still be balanced when I rotate it. This means that this act of rotating the canvas can add to the artistic process. I've started to add white to the canvas. You'll notice these circular shapes on the canvas. There is a strong spiritual aspect to the work I create. Kandinsky saw a spiritual significance in the shape of circles, and I find myself doing the same. Many artists have noticed a link between abstraction and their own spirituality. This is definitely something that has become more dominant in artistic conversations, especially since the Hilma af Klint exhibition at the Guggenheim. There is a greater acceptance of the spiritual in art, which is great because for artists like me, it is of great importance. I've learned many things from my connection to the spirit world. A universe is like a naked soul without a body. There is a hard circular light in the center and then a glow of an aura. These circles are different universes placed in existence. The lines depict the immortal soul of the universe. It is something that often comes up in my artwork. Each time I create a work like this, it's like an exploration of how I connect to the universe. It's an exploration of how existence feels in a particular moment, and there is a heightened sense of self-awareness within the experience. It's like not just being aware of your own life, because that's one point in a journey. It's an awareness of the permanence of existence. If you've already read my book, My Visions of the Universe, then you'll already be aware of the depths of my spirituality and mysticism. At this stage, I'm wanting to add more detail and depth to the image. I'm focusing on the orange and adding more light and shade in order to make the shapes more three-dimensional. As an abstract artist, you still want to use the tools and techniques that you've developed by creating realistic imagery. Every style of art is connected by various techniques. I've chosen to add some brown abstract forms to the image. These shapes are guided by the pink that is on the canvas. They add more interest while retaining the balance between the warm colours and the cool colours. I've made the shading on the universes grey, and it makes them stand out more. On a canvas that is full of strong, vibrant colour, the addition of grey creates contrast, and it brings the viewer's eyes to that area of the canvas. I've also added black abstract shapes to the painting. If you just focus on that layer of black paint, you'll see that it stretches from the bottom left of the canvas to the top right. It travels diagonally across the painting. That positioning is balanced, and if you just focus on that one layer, you can see that it doesn't have a complex composition. You can layer simplistic compositions on top of each other, and it will always lead to something interesting and complex. Having a layered approach to abstraction can lead to many interesting pieces of artwork. I get to this stage and I know the piece is finished. I've signed the side of the canvas because I don't want a signature to disrupt the balance of the composition. I then release the work into the world and I let go.